The cameras are ready. The microphones are ready. Let's get ready for Wi-Fi.
Well, I mean, the only way I can introduce this guest is by calling you a sporting god.
Yeah.
Sporting royalty. Sir Bradley Wiggins. We were just talking about this. Do we have to call you sir?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, right. Throughout the podcast, right, we have to call him sir. I mean, first off, thank you so much for joining us, mate.
Thank you for having me.
This is an honour for me, and it's hard when you come in the room, and I don't want to talk too much because I want to save it for this. But
Yeah.
I kid you not, mate. I am absolutely buzzing because, and I think Ryan will be exactly the same when you've.
No, not really.
No, but when you've dedicated your life to something, you appreciate how hard it is, and we'll probably get onto this in a bit. But I'm in awe of what you was able to achieve and what kept you going. But yeah, thank you so much for coming,
Thanks
mate.
for having me.
Was the most decorated British Olympian of all time. You know, it's incredible. Right.
Just quickly, would you say you're Britain's greatest ever cyclist? I know
No.
Was it Chris Hoy?
Yeah, Chris Hoy, but he was a one-trick pony, really. Chris, so he used to do. No, he was. He raced on the track. His races.
Look, there's the white collar fight.
No, his races were a minute long maximum. You know, I did anything from 4 minutes to 3 weeks. So it's you know, there's different. He was kind of like a Usain Bolt, so he did all the sprint events on the track. And most of his races were 10 seconds long. You know, and but our races, we went from anything from 4 minute team pursuit, 4 minute individual pursuit, Madison for an hour, and then 3 weeks in the Tour de France. So it was they're very, very different races. And I don't know really. I think in terms of diversity, really, I kind of probably up there with the best because I did everything from track cycling to road cycling to I won the Olympic times on the road, won Olympic medals on the track, and. Like you either normally get road riders or track riders. You never get people that cross all the different sort of. It's a bit like, you know, Mayweather winning sort of five world titles, different weights. You know, you kind of it's
or UFC.
Yeah.
So in a roundabout way, that's your way of telling us you're the best.
No, I probably my most diverse, I guess.
Most diverse. So just quickly before, I just want to ask a couple of questions on the cycling because I like to buzz off of it.
Yeah.
What was your favoured discipline out of track and road?
Track, definitely.
Track was your favourite?
Yeah. I didn't really
You enjoyed it the most?
Yeah, road racing was fucking hard. Anytime you go up a hill, you know, it's a different ball game really, and the body weight comes into it and everything like that. It was just a lot more intense, and then you got the more risk of crashing. You got 200 guys racing down the road, but the track racing was where I started. I started in South London at Herne Hill when I was 13, and that was my first love really.
So the Olympic medals, etc., all on the track or whatever would mean more than the Tour de France?
I think so. No, I mean, the road time trial medal that I got in London, that was probably my favourite medal because it was in London.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What, because of the support behind it and the sort of effect it gave around?
I think just coming from where I came from in Kilburn, North London, you know, it's, I grew up in a council estate, so, you know, I've spoken about it a lot, but the late sort of 80s, you know, it's a pretty rough time, London, pretty violent time, and, you know, trying to get out of a council estate when you're 9, 10 years of age in Lycra in the late 80s, I mean, it was fucking hard work. It really was, you know.
Why did you do it to yourself?
Because I wanted to get out of the environment I grew up in. I hated it, and it was a turn to crime or try and do something else. You know, I was, you know, your product to your environment, your product to your childhood, and peer pressure is a massive thing when you're that age. You know, you get hung around with the wrong groups of kids, and you know it was a tough time. And I my dad was a professional cyclist, but he left home when I was 1, so I never knew him until I was 18. And my mum always brought me up, you know, kind of idolising my dad, and.
In what way? What?
Well, she glorified all his bad traits and his achievements, but you know, so she sort of. I grew up. He was my idol, really, but I didn't know anything about him as a person. So that was kind of what I aspired as, you know, looked up as to a success.
And say bad traits, like in what?
Well, he was a violent person. He was a drinker. You know, he was not a nice person, really.
Right.
Yeah. So she glorified him in a cycling sense, but. You know, so I kind of grew up knowing who he was as a cyclist, but not really as a person. And then that was my doorway and gateway and sort of vision of what I wanted to do, really.
Yeah, I suppose like.
But yeah, trying to get out of the estate, you know, I sort of started, you know, didn't really have a lot of money to do it to begin with, so I used to wear a tracksuit out the estate and cover up, get up to St John's, would take the tracksuit off and then...
Really?
Yeah,
Put it in your bag?
Because it was a big estate, and there was only sort of 6 ways in through the arches. You know, I'd ride over to Crystal Palace to Herne Hill on a Monday night, Tuesday night, come back, it'd be about 10:30 at night, and I'd have to circle the estate to see which way I could go in, where the kids weren't all hanging around. But it was like that, you know, now cycling's cool. So, you know, on that really, you know, I'd like knife put to my throat one night, you know, because it's anything to sort of, you know, not to ostracise yourself from those groups, you know, who do you think you are? You can imagine the bigotry I faced, you know, kind of words I got called and things. And so, yeah, 20 years on from that, you know, 1992, I watched Chris Bourne win the Olympic Games in Barcelona on the Lotus bike. And I was playing over football at West Ham at the time during the summer holidays. And came back and watched Chris Bourne win the Olympic Games in Barcelona. And I thought, that's what I want to do. You know, it just captured me, you know. And so 20 years on from that, I win the Olympic time trial in London, and there was a societal change, there was a social change, you know, and cycling was now the coolest sport in the country at one point, with the likes of Chris Hoy, Mark Cavendish and everyone. Yeah. And I was Wiggo, and I was on the front of every newspaper, and they were selling sideburns, you know, and I was 20 years before trying to get out of a council estate. And it was, so it was quite it was incredible.
Transformation, yeah.
So no coincidence then, like where your dad cycled and your mum glorified it. Do you think there was a sort of a reason you was a more of a deeper reason why you started cycling?
Yeah, I think it was the closest way I could form a relationship with my dad without him being present at the time.
He wasn't there. Did you ever speak to him?
No, so I didn't speak to him until I was 17.
No. 17.
He rang up out of the blue. He rang my nan's old phone number, 3285492. She's still got it today. He said, he'd seen my name in a magazine in Australia, B. Wiggins. He thought that must be Brad, and he rang up and he wanted a piece of the action. He wanted to kind of
be involved.
In your glory, that was it really. I spoke to him the first time when I was 17, and but it was funny when he left. I never really knew of him. We didn't know where he was. I heard he was sort of in trouble, had been in prison and stuff like that. But everywhere I went, he was so well known in the sport because he was a European champion himself.
Right.
And he was feared. He was a liability, and he was a bit of a loose cannon. He was a bit like Ronnie Craig's your dad. You know, everywhere you went, there was kind of a fear. So it was like having the presence of my dad around as a kid, but without him being there. So you're Wiggo's boy, aren't you? You know, and it was like a sort of fear.
So like even in the area you grew up?
No, just in cycling. So in cycling, so it's like having the strength of a dad around when I was in cycling without him being there, because you know I kind of got, you know, all old people come up to me and say, "Oh, I remember your dad" and all that, and it was kind of. But he was a scary man, and he was kind of feared, but at the same time respected as well. So. It was kind of, I had the strength of having a dad around with him, not having been around really, within cycling as it were. So it was like two worlds really. And then obviously I spoke to him when I was 17. I met him when I was 19 for the first time in Belgium at a race, and from then I kind of rekindled some little relationship with him. He was living in Australia at the time. But then it drifted apart, and I found myself not really liking him. No. And then he got murdered when I was 28. So he got murdered in 2008, just before the Olympic Games in Beijing.
Wow.
And that was the end of that. So it was short-lived. Yeah.
How did that affect you? Like,
I don't think it affected me till 10, 15 years later.
Really?
I don't think I fully computed it at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a tough thing. You know, when you're in sports mode, that was 3 weeks before the World Championships we had in Manchester in 2008. So it was the Olympic year. We had a World Championships in March, and then the Olympics in August in Beijing. And I won 3 world titles 3 weeks after I found out he got murdered. You know, and that's how insular and how kind of much I use sport as a distraction for everything else in my life.
Yeah.
You know, the more shit that was going on in my life, the more I threw myself into cycling.
Yeah, can totally relate to that. Yeah.
And I did that for 25 years until I stopped at 36 years of age, and then it was like, right.
And the waves hit you.
You've got 25 years now of shit you need to go and deal with. And it's funny, isn't it? It's just... and I think that's what I said, you know, with all that, sport was a distraction for all the shit in my life.
Yeah.
And I really truly believe that now.
Yeah.
And the more shit you have, and the more you distract yourself, the better you are.
Totally.
You know, that whole greatness stems from adversity.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like I won more in the most chaotic times in my life, and then once things started to settle down, then
that's it.
Yeah, it sort of fell apart in a way.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, it's crazy. So what were your dad's achievements in the sport? Like just to get an idea of. Yeah. Darren's dad was. My dad wasn't a boxer, but Darren's dad was.
Yeah. No, I mean he was Australian. He was a tough Australian. He was boxer actually as well.
Oh, yeah?
He was middleweight, was champion of Australia in Victoria.
Oh, wow.
Juniors. So when he was a youngster. And then he was, he was an outback Australian, quite a tough bloke. Come over in the 70s, flew over, was staying homeless here with a couple of other cyclists, and then used to race for money so he could live. And met my mum at 17. She had me there, she was like 20 when they had me.
Wow.
And then, it was kind of, but he was like 6-7 times Australian champion, European champion. He went to the Commonwealth Games, never went to the Olympic Games. But that was another thing as well. He never really fulfilled his potential.
Right.
He was, kind of fell well short. But when I met him when I was 19, one of the first things he said to me was, "You're never going to be as good as your old man." And
Is that what he said?
He had a competition amongst him. He just didn't want me to be better than him. Wow. And it started getting very dark at that point.
Wow.
And I'll never forget that. My own son now is 18. He's on the fringes of the Olympic Games next year, cycling. But I could never imagine saying something like that to him at this age. And I think that's it's been like. My relationship with my dad has become more it's played up more the last couple of years for me. My son, as he's gone through the years, the teenage years that I remember, it's like looking in the mirror. And at certain points, when he was 13, I kind of remember looking at him and thinking, God, yeah, that was... I can remember what it's like being 13, because he's doing cycling as well, and he's got coaches, and I realised at 13...
It's like looking at yourself,
started reflecting on my own sexual abuse with my coach and stuff, and then he got to 14, 15, 16, and now he's 18, and... it's just, it's helped me actually. It's helped me grow watching him go through the stages I went through and realise the abnormality of my teenage years.
How did he just naturally want to? Because I think with me getting into boxing, my dad never pushed me into it.
No.
I think first off because of the nature of the sport, he was my biggest supporter.
Yeah.
But I think he wanted me to find my path into boxing on my own, not being pushed into it. But naturally, I just wanted to do it to make him proud, I guess. Was that the same with your son, or did you push him into the cycling?
No, he's been around since dot, really. So he, my wife found out she was pregnant the night before the Olympic Games in Athens, the night before the final.
Wow.
Yeah.
For a cat amongst the pigeons.
So, but it was, and then kind of from there, he went through every Olympic Games. He followed my whole career. He rode up the Champs-Élysées with me when I won the Tour de France. He was always going to do it, He was just always around bikes.
Is he good?
He loved it. He's very good. I think he's better than me.
Really?
And it contradicts my whole kind of logic at the moment, where I think that whole, greatness stems from adversity thing, because he's had adversity in his life and things like that, but he's not on the abnormal level that I had it, and I sort of think he's still going to be able to be good, So I'm starting to contradict my own logic between.
I know what you mean, like that, because I have.
I don't know if you have to have such a shit.
Well, I think it's that's where genetics and genes play a part. It's in his blood. It's there. It's in his blood. Not just to cycling, but to be a winner, to be a champion. It's there. It's embedded in him.
And I think we're unaware sometimes of what we're putting on our children. Like I'm super competitive, and my son is unbelievably competitive. And I was saying to my missus, I don't know why he's so competitive. I don't know why he's worried about losing. And she's like, look at you, like. But somehow it comes out of you without you realising it's.
Yeah, I never considered myself competitive. I still don't. Just winning became the standard, and winning became the norm, and it was a fear of failure after that.
But that's what you're competing against, right?
No, I mean, it was a fear. It was a fear. It was a fear of not letting my dad down. I think that my whole thing
exactly the same as me.
I think the whole thing was just to prove to my dad that,
to prove
as out of mark of respect for his sport that I chose, something like that. It was crazy. I'm always changing my idea with this.
Yeah.
And it's it was that. I kind of idolised my dad and wanted to prove to him that I could be as good as he was, if not, but not better. I never wanted to be better than him, but I naturally became better than him. And he got the ump with that. And,
I was going to ask you how it felt for you, like how it felt for you to surpass your dad's achievements.
I mean, I surpassed it by the time I was 20. I got my first Olympic medal.
But how did that feel for you, like knowing that you were better than your dad? Because it must be a weird.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't really remember thinking about it much then, but I think it wasn't. I didn't take pride in it or anything like that. I think. I always hoped that he'd be proud of that, really. But
Yeah.
I knew there was an anger with him for that. You know, and I wish, and I never wanted that. I just wish he felt the same as me.
Yeah.
It was like fighting the tide. You know, why are you so angry, kind of thing. You know.
Yeah.
And it was a strange relationship from that point of view. And it was a lot of wasted effort and time, and I could never understand it. He never wanted me to be a cyclist. You know, he thought the sport was way too hard, and I think he couldn't understand. Yeah, I don't think that's what my mum used to tell me anyway.
But you were a cyclist before you even knew him, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
You, I read somewhere that you said when you was at school, you told your teachers that you was going to be an Olympic champion,
Yeah.
and win the Tour de France.
Well,
when did it get serious for you?
12 years of age.
12 years, that was it.
That
right,
was it. I
bang.
just decided that was it. I was sitting in art one day, pissing around. I was playing like flute with an art brush or something. And my teacher, my Miss Kent, she was a cunt. She, no, Miss Kennett. She was. She said, "Come on, Brad, what are you going to do with your life? You're going to have to, start." And I said, "Listen, love." I didn't say love, but I said, "I'm going to I want to wear yellow jersey into the France, win Olympic gold." And she laughed at me. I thought, "You bitch," And then. Yeah, that's what it was like. We went, after Barcelona Olympics, we went, we had Linford, Sally Gunn, or people like that winning gold. But we weren't saturated with Olympic gold medals like we are now. There's one in every town, isn't there? So it was quite unfeasible, and it wasn't something that, now if some kids say they want to be Olympic champion, there's a flock of Olympic champions to think from. You've got Jess Ennis's and all these people that could
inspire.
Yeah. But back then, I don't know, we never used to really encourage sports. This was at a time when Thatcher took PE out of schools. And it was, we used to have milk in schools and they stopped doing that.
Non-competitive PE.
And it was, that's how it started going.
Yeah.
And it was knocking the shit out of this country, And by the time we got to Atlanta Olympics, we won 1 gold medal with Steve Redgrave.
Yeah.
And then lottery funding came in and it started ramping up again. And by the time we got to London, obviously we were back on the big hall. But yeah, it was those middle years, it weren't encouraged to be ambitious and, so.
Do you want to talk a little bit about the discipline itself, like as in cycling? I mean, if me and Darren to speak about boxing, we just talk about it I talk about it in a kind of romantic way. Do you know what I mean? I talk about how it's to hit and not get hit and the intricacies of the sport. How would you describe cycling as a discipline? Because for me, it's like, I don't know anything about it. You just put one leg in front of the other and just keep going, and it's hard work. You go up the hill.
Yeah.
But is there an art to it? Is it more intricate than that?
Yeah. The strongest, most powerful people could get on a bike and make it look, hard work. So we've had like James Cracknell come and try cycling, a big, powerful unit. Big, strong guy, but he looks like a bulldog chewing a wasp on a bike.
Yeah.
He's just not kind of. There's no fluidity, and it's a real aesthetically beautiful thing when you get a good pedaling action. It's a bit like rowing a boat. There's people that row boats. I don't know if you know anything about rowing, but there's an art form to making a boat move fast over water. It's the same with cycling. Your pedaling action is reliant much more on not too much power. You've got to have the power, but it's the way you apply the power through the pedal stroke, through the complete circle, that makes a bike move fast through the air. And it's not just a case of stomping it out with big power, because it's. And
do you feel like you're in touch with that, like as in?
Yes, it's a real spiritual thing.
The air and everything. You kind of feel like you're.
Yeah. I mean, we used to measure each pedal stroke with watts. We had a power meter, so we'd train to power. So you'd ride a bit like a watt bike,
Yeah.
So I could do 3 hours and sit on 400 watts, like 1 watt either way.
Wow. Yeah.
I was so in touch with the pedal stroke and just
the finesse of that.
Yeah. Whereas some people would be like 30 watts over, 30 watts under.
Yeah, I can really relate to that with boxing, because you throw in a
It's
jab.
just-
There's many ways to throw a jab. Do you know what I mean? And you're really in touch with.
And the more you can feel that and be in touch with that, the better you'll be.
Yeah.
You'll surpass riders with more power than you.
And how do you think you kind of adopted the ability to be in touch with that? Was it natural?
I think it was natural.
Yeah.
I think it came within winning, and I think from a young age, really having an understanding of what it was that made a bike move fast. Really, just from riding it so much as a kid.
And do you feel like the bike's sort of part of you? Like it's
very much so. Yeah.
And if you get on someone else's bike, it's just not the same.
And if I got on it today, I'd still be, even after a couple of years not riding a bike.
Yeah.
I'll never forget what that feels like, that kind of muscle memory and things.
I think that again, it's love for what you're doing.
Yeah.
I think if there was ever times when I was in the gym it's probably the only way I can relate to what you're saying there. Things just seemed a bit harder when I weren't in the right frame of mind. But when I was on full flow and I was enjoying what I was doing, it all felt part and parcel. It was just such a natural thing flowing.
Yeah.
It almost, when I watch it back, I think, fucking hell, was that me?
Yeah.
You know, was I able to do that?
Yeah.
It was just because of the desire and the love for what I was
I
doing.
remember hitting the pads. I don't know, about 2 years ago. I don't hit pads or bags anymore. We were saying earlier, like a couple of years ago, I hit the pads, and I hadn't for a long time. And I hit the pads, and I thought, this is what I'm made to do. My body's made to do this. Does it feel like that when
The
you're
ape thing, wasn't it? You know, the ape thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was showing in the video. I forget the name of the guy now. He trains actors to embody the ape. You know, in Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, how to walk like him.
Yeah, how to
And it's
relax
fascinating.
soft muscle.
He's-
Yeah. I can't remember his name now, the guy. It will come to me. But yeah, does it feel like that when you're on a
Yeah.
bike? Like
Yeah, exactly
you're
that.
made to do it.
Yeah.
Like this is,
Yeah, it's that centering of the bike, you know, centering on it, and
balance and
it's
timing.
It's what did he say? That it's exactly the same. You can apply it to anything you're good at that you do subconsciously.
Yeah.
You know, it's that centering, and that it's not using strong muscle, it's strength or something, isn't it? It's
soft muscle. He
Yeah.
talked about soft muscle, not hard muscle. He said like
And it's-
humans use hard muscle and they're up in their head, they're mental, whereas apes are very centered and soft muscle, relaxed.
Yeah.
And the minute you're using hard muscle, you're kind of fighting against yourself in a
Yeah.
way. And when you're boxing, everything's relaxed and fluid. And like if you get, I cycle to work and stuff, but you know, people say I look like a gorilla on a bike because I'm just fighting against it, and
Yeah.
I've got no rhythm at all. I'm just fighting against it. But I can imagine like it's the same thing as any art form really. You watch anyone who's
when they're on it.
found their discipline, found what they express themselves through.
I always think as well, like, you know, as successful as we all were in our chosen discipline, I wonder if there was anything else that we would have been good at, or we just the lucky ones that found our thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
'Cause I know I'm useless at fucking everything, pretty much. But I
I'm-
wonder if there's anything else out there.
I can
that
draw.
could-
I can draw and stuff.
Yeah,
And,
you
know what
you
I mean.
can do other bits and
Yeah.
pieces. I can't. I've found that with a lot of boxers.
Yeah.
They're shit at everything else.
Yeah.
Generally, they're not like most boxers.
Really?
I think are one-trick ponies.
See, I disagree. I think that there is definitely I don't know if you call it IQ or what. There's an intelligence about an athlete. Like you're dealing with so much in such little time. You're thinking about so much. You're computing a lot of things in split seconds that an academic might not be able to do. It's like your brain works slightly differently. It's almost creative. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't know if you agree with that. Or was there anything else that you had talent for?
I play guitar. I played on stage with Paul Weller. We did Hammersmith Apollo.
Yeah.
And
is
I've
that-
always played guitar since I was a kid, but that is very much like cycling. It's that subconscious, you know, like, you know, when you're doing something without thinking about it. The minute you have to start thinking about it, it becomes hard.
Yeah, we used to call it in the zone.
But I've had a memory I've got a real, in telepathic memory.
Have you?
And I could never apply it at school.
Right.
Shit at school, left with nothing. But cycling knowledge, I could tell you what shoes cyclists were wearing in the 90s, what bikes they were using.
Serious?
Yeah, because I just used to, it was obsessed with cycling.
yeah.
Posters on my wall and everything. And then I moved to France. I learned French in 6 years, fluent. So
Are you fluent in French?
yeah. So
Wow.
I when I have to do something,
When you want to do it as well, yeah.
Or if it just needs doing for the benefit of whatever
Of
I'm doing.
what you wanna
I was in
do,
a
yeah.
French team, so I had to speak French. You know, I can do it. I can do something then. It's like
Yeah.
boxing. It's
I've
why I
got an
struggled a
idea.
bit with boxing at times. It's just when I think I've got it and then I haven't.
Yeah,
It's
I say to people,
Yeah.
probably the same as all sport, but boxing's
Yeah.
like this: you go up, you improve, and you come back down again.
Yeah.
You go back up, back down again. It's like a roller coaster.
It's tough, I guess, with like gauging boxing as well, because you know, with French, I guess, or a language,
Yeah.
like, I excel, I'm fluent. But can you ever say you're fluent in boxing? Do you know what I mean? Is there ever a stage where you can say, right, I've cracked it? That's
Yeah,
it, I've
because
done
you find a new opponent.
Yeah, there's
every
something
time.
else, and then there's
always a
something
different-
else that unravels and blah blah blah.
Whereas-
By the way, I thought I found something that we can do
Yeah.
beyond this podcast. All right,
Yeah.
with that telepathic memory
Yeah.
you got, let's go learn how to count cards.
Yeah.
and then we'll go casino. All right,
Let's do
we'll get
it.
a little ring going. We've cracked it. There we go. We made a few quid out of this. I was just going to jump forward one of the one of the little topics and talk about the drive, because you said there that you're not competitive, really, and you get in the zone. Like we share, we've got something in common. We're both shit hot cyclists, by the way. I cycled about 250 miles in Cuba for this charity. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. Yeah. But there was stages, and I guess this is going to be a long question, this, because it all sort of ties in the same thing. But there was moments on that cycle where I'm cycling uphill, and it was I just wanted to get off the bike. I wanted to get off and start walking, but I never. And I was sort of telling myself, go on down, keep going down. The same as when I was in a 12-round fight. It got hard in the later rounds. I'll be telling myself, come on down, keep going down. For you, what kept you going when it was getting hard? You're climbing the mountain. Like I've been to, Alpe d'Huez is one of the climbs, right? I've been skiing there. Yeah. And the coach that takes you to the top, I remember thinking I knew it was one of the routes of the Tour de France. And like
24 hairpins.
We're all on there on the coach saying, how the fuck do they get up here? Yeah. You saw that. Yeah. And the coach is struggling to get up there. Yeah. You know, with an engine. What is, firstly, why are you keep going with all what you've achieved? I'm probably jumping forward a little bit. What kept you, what's going through your mind in them hard stages when you just...
I mean, by the time you get to that point, obviously you've been through a process of training for 12 months or 9 months, whatever it is, and then subsequently to that a couple of years before. But it was just... you know, once you've set your mind to the objective, you obviously arrived there. We used to have this thing where we used to train hard, race easy. So we'd always endeavour to train harder than we raced. And rack up as much, you know, work and harder sessions. And so we'd get to the racing, we trained harder than anyone else, that the racing was easy. And by then, you know, your people, every hairpin you go round and you're kind of seeing that the group's getting smaller and smaller because we're riding on the front. So you'd start with 20, round the next hairpin there'd be 15 guys, and you'd see guys just hanging off the back. Because when you get around the hairpin, it's in one straight line, and the 20th cyclist sort of still there, around the corner. Yeah. So you're seeing guys getting dropped. All of a sudden, you're down to 4 or 5 guys in the group. So with everyone that gets dropped, you're getting more motivation because you're the, and that's what cycling's like, really. You know, if it's just a battle of attrition, and it's but likewise when I've been sort of not one of them ones suffering, really, I kind of, one thing I used to do a few years ago. So when I did my first proper Tour de France for GCI Road, I was going head to head with Lance Armstrong for 3rd place in 2009. And it was a year after Beijing. I packed up the track in Beijing and I went on the road to make some money. And I found myself going to head with Lance Armstrong. And the thing I used to do then was I thought everyone's got 60 seconds in them, and that was the kind of thing I saw. So whenever it started getting really hard and everyone's on the limit, you think, if I ain't got much left, go right. You've got 60 seconds left. Get to 60 seconds and see where you're at. And by the time you get to that 60 seconds, someone else would have got dropped or the pace would have slowed, because everyone, if you're hurting, everyone else is hurting. Mm-hmm. And so we just go on these 60-second things all the time.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
So I'd go on these 60 seconds, and by the time if you set yourself right, just if you want to stop now, go for 60 seconds, and then you can quit, and that's it. So I go. By the time you get 30 seconds in, the group's slowed down because someone's cracked and someone else has been dropped.
And that encourages you.
Yeah,
right?
And then you think, right, okay, because you just think, if you're hurting, my coach said to me once, if you're hurting, think how everyone else is feeling. And just you got 60 seconds when you think, right, I'm going to pull. Give yourself 60 seconds, and then you can say you're not quitting. You know, you kind of, you know, you never really regret it. So, and by the time you get to that 60 seconds, like I say, someone else would have quit before you. So and then that gives you encouragement. So I would always work on that, really.
A lot like a boxing match, you know, when you're in a round and you're struggling a bit.
Yeah,
you know,
let's get back to the corner.
And you see them take a deep breath, like how much that changes you when you see them take a deep breath, like. You all of a sudden come like I've got him. You don't even think about yourself.
They get a little cut. So, you see red. There's something to build off of. But I'd always be like, if there was a tough round, similar to get to the end of 60 seconds and reassess it. It was like, right, let's get back to the corner. Let's see how, you know, just get another round out of the way. I think everybody, you know, there's a lot of things you can relate to that when you break it down. You know, fucking alcoholics, day by day.
Yeah, that's it.
You know, setting goals, run by run on the ladder. boxing round by round. I mean, I think when you can overcomplicate things. And
Cutting weight,
yeah.
cutting weight day by day. Like if you're thinking about the end,
everything you can just apply into life as well. You know, I always think 30 days. 30 days, give yourself 30 days is enough to create a new routine.
Yeah.
Your life's about habits, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
And if you're in a bad place, I think, right, give yourself 30 days, and 30 days is long enough to create a new habit.
I heard it was something like 42 days or something. But
30
sorry
in my
to
world.
break that.
30 in my world, right?
He ain't competitive. Just quickly going back to the hill, you know them climbs. It's a bit of a technical cycling question, but how many gears in a bike?
Well, it's 12 speed now. The blocks are 12 speed, and then you've got 2 rings at the front. So what's that?
So 12 being the hardest, the heaviest.
No, that's you got different cogs. You got an 11, 12, 13, 14 up to the big block. So when you can, that's your lowest gear at the back. You know that you can.
So when you're going up these hills, what sort of gear would you be in?
I don't know.
Are you on the lightest one?
We'd work on cadence. So depending on the gradient. So if you had like a 9% climb, and we're doing 450 watts, whatever speed, you know, we'd always work to about 90 to 100 RPM. So
Are you seeing this on the bike, by the way?
Yeah. But you become, like, your muscle memory becomes attuned to riding 100. If you told me to ride at 100 RPM, I'd probably be able to do it. And if you had the thing there and I weren't looking, you just get a view of kind of an idea of what those things are. You kind of remember it.
So you don't even know what you're doing, really. You just
No, but I could do it anyway without, you know, it's just a bit like driving a car down the mountain. We said, right, sit on 100 mile an hour without looking at the speedo. You'd be able to do it. Well, I'd be able to do it, but compared to bike. But it's a bit like that, really. You know, if you're going uphill in a car, you know, you don't rev the engine out, do you? Like, you sort of find a bit like, you know, kind of a happy medium, really. And that's what cycling's like. If you're pedaling too fast, you're going to be breathing too hard. You're going to be using too much oxygen. And if you're going too big a gear, you're going to be doing a lot of damage.
So you're just kind of subconsciously just going through the gears without even knowing.
Yeah, you've done so much training up to that point. You know,
it's automatic pilot. Yeah.
It's like anything you do. You're doing something enough times, it becomes. You just do it
Would
subconsciously.
you ever be thinking, like, if you're leading, you're at the front, and you got to drop down a gear, would you be thinking, oh fuck, they're going to think I'm a right pussy here,
No.
going down a gear?
No, because you can't even hear the gears change now. They're all electric.
Oh right.
Yeah, so it's just a touch of a button.
So they wouldn't even see what's going on.
No. A lot of the time, the thing with that is if you're playing psychological games, it's the one who gets out the saddle, because it's easy when you get out the saddle.
Ah, right. So you don't stand up.
But you're all looking forward, so you're all kind of surrounding each other. But, like, you know, you'd kind of, a lot of the time, if you were looking round, you'd try and pretend you wasn't breathing if someone's coming past you. So you go, because it's all mind games.
I love these mind games.
It's all mind games, you know.
Yeah.
So, or if you look round in the group, or sort of look round and pretend you're easy, but then look for, because someone else looks at you. Everyone is so quiet, and you can hear other people breathing. You can hear who's breathing the most.
Yeah, man.
And it's just, when it gets down to that last bit, you know, it's all just mind games. I mean, but then you compare that to Olympic finals in the velodrome, and you get there 3 hours before, and it's one guy against one guy, you know, and it's
And the opposite sides of the
The
track.
opposite
opposite sides of the track,
isn't it?
and that's
Are you aware of them then? Are you looking at the opponent?
Well, I mean, so you never got to speak to anyone in that, but like the time trial of the Tour de France, the last time trial, I was the last man off because I had a yellow jersey, and then so you go off 1 minute intervals like a time trial, so in the reverse order of GC, the guy ahead of me, Cadell Evans, in the Australian one, I remember I got in there and I said to him, I'll see you in a bit, mate, just as he went up, because I was going to go after him, and I knew that cracked him, and I caught him after 12 kilometres or something like Dauphiné it was. I nearly caught him after 22 kilometres. So it's just those little sort of psychological things you can kind of get over people.
Yeah,
but,
totally.
But I would never really play those games much, to be honest. I just pretend, because they could backfire on you as well. You know.
Yeah, totally. I've had people.
It's not part of the process too much. I always just used to stick in my zone, and a lot of the time I was racing myself, A to B as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Never worry about anyone else, because you know, I think the more science we train to and all those things, I definitely applied it in my psychological approach, because you know, you can.
I do think the psychological side is very important.
Depends what sport you're doing, you know.
Yeah, but I do think also that if you're basing your tactics on psychological games, that's a weakness.
Yeah.
I used to do it the other way round. I used to give my opponents a false sense of security. So at the weigh-in, I wouldn't be looking in the eyes, I look at the chest, and they think, I don't want to batter this geezer, he's all right tart. And then when the fight starts getting tough, or the fight starts, and I'm holding the centre ring and I'm giving it some, it's like flipping.
It's a bit of a shock to them.
I weren't expecting this sort of thing, as opposed to it being the other way round. Oh, this geezer's scary.
Yeah.
in the
Would
final.
you have a demeanour before the race, like consciously or not?
No, not that I was aware of. I don't think. I was just very focused, very centred, and I always had my headphones on. And I mean, the Olympic Games in London, we started in Hampton Court, and we were in a little hotel right on the start-finish line for 3 or 4 hours before I had a pre-race meal there and stuff like that. And I remember coming out that hotel to go to the warm-up zone, an hour and a half to go, and I had my hood on, things. There was thousands of people outside, and I was trying not to get unnoticed as I was walking. But as I walked past this cafe, I saw my family. I saw my 2 kids stood there, and they were like, "Daddy," and I could just see them out my subcut, and I had to ignore them and walk straight past them. Otherwise, I just started crying and come out that zone. I had to take the emotion away from it from that moment, and stick in that. And it was the worst thing I ever did was knowing I just ignored my kids, and they were only like 5 and 6 at the time. But this was work, you know. This wasn't like, I'll see you after.
You've done the right thing, then, didn't you?
And did you perform to your best?
Yeah, it was the best executed ride I ever did. Yeah, that Olympic Games in London.
There you go.
Yeah, there was only one shot. You get one chance in London. And it was the best ride of my life. And I came out of it once, actually, in the whole thing. And it was, I executed the ride. I was 35 seconds up with 5 kilometres to go. And the guy told me in the radio behind, you're 35 seconds up, 5K to go. And as soon as he did that, I remember coming out this bubble. I went around this roundabout in Kingston, and I had to go quite slow around the roundabout. And as I come out the roundabout to pick up speed again, there was a wall of people, and I got goosebumps, the sound. And it snapped me out into the real world. And then I was suddenly getting really insecure, and I thought, I got 35 seconds. What if Tony Martin, the German who was second, what if he saves something back and takes 35 seconds out of me? To take 35 seconds out of someone in 5 kilometres is ridiculous. But I got really insecure. I thought, fuck, you know, and I came back into the real world, and this super confidence had gone. And I remember thinking, this is... And I remember then going over, and I was like holding 500 watts, and I ended up taking another 15 seconds out of him.
Right,
in my insecurity.
Yeah.
Because I kind of...
It drove you on, yeah.
Yeah, no. I snapped into the real world, and I was really insecure and thought, I'm going to lose the race here. But I was 35 seconds up.
Luckily, you only had 5K to go, maybe.
Yeah, but I ended up going too hard.
Yeah.
And because I was in such good form, I took another 15 seconds out. But it's funny, like, that me, the athlete, could get in that zone where I didn't speak to my kids and stuff, and I could execute it 100%, no emotion attached to it. But the minute, like, I got a sense of how many crowds are in London and this was great and I was actually going to win, I came back to the real person, and me, the person, was actually quite an insecure person, or was then. I had this kind of the polar opposite person. Me, the athlete, could be extremely confident if I got in the zone, but in the real world, like now when I look back, I think, how the fuck did I win the Tour de France? I still can't believe it. But when you're doing it,
incredible.
you know, it's like you said earlier, you still can't believe you're world champion.
Yeah,
you know, it's sort of it's funny because you're the athlete and you the person, they're different people, and I think you should be different people.
Yeah,
I don't think I could live in the real world as the athlete. I'd be a nightmare to live with, and you know, you could just be too selfish. And you look at the sportsmen that never let that old self go.
Yeah,
and they have problems in their life, don't they? You know, it's I mean, look at Mayweather. He's not exactly.
Yeah, he's still chasing the spotlight. Yeah.
He's his alter ego, isn't he?
Yeah. A couple of questions. You mentioned Lance Armstrong earlier, and it just made me think about the likes of Borg, McEnroe, and people like. Did you have a kind of? First of all, did you have a nemesis that you were against, that you were like trying to beat
him?
And secondly, did you have? Maybe from when you were younger, did you have someone? I was watching the Arnold Schwarzenegger documentary recently, and he looked at like the old style weightlifters and stuff. Yeah, and did you have someone that you looked at was like, wow, he's like the perfect cyclist. I want to be like him, or was there?
Yeah,
that?
I think there was a lot like that. I admired so many people when I was a kid. I was big into football as a kid, really, and. You know, Ian Wright, Paul Gascoigne. I was a football fan in general. I mean, I used to love all of them.
Yeah.
You know, and it was I was obsessed with cycling and obsessed with sport in general. Really,
yeah.
You know, I used to love anyone. I used to watch, obviously, into boxing then, and you know, kind of Larry Holmes and Tommy Hearns and people like that. You know, there was so many. I think the 80s and 90s was such a great time for sport in general. You know, used to sort of. Just
felt a little bit less polished, didn't it? Then you know,
I mean, particularly like football. I lived near Arsenal as a kid, so I was in Kilburn, and you know, you'd see Paul Merson, Ian Wright, all these people in the pub afterwards. You know, there was less distance between.
He was from round that way when he Merson, close to you, I think.
But you know, there's a bigger void now between us elite sports stars and the public. Back then, I think it was much more. I mean, we used to train at Paddington Recreation Ground. We see Daley Thompson used to train there in the sandpit. You know, and you could see him now. Now there's a bigger void between them all.
It's funny that you say that you were inspired by people like that, because in a way you when it comes to your relationship with media, you're maybe like that. You're less polished. You're effing blind and stuff, and it's maybe like inspired by the kind of less polished, because nowadays everyone's so well media trained that, you know, do you ever really get the real them? Back then, it felt like you got the real Gascoigne. No, it's like, you're listening to a computer. Do you know what I mean? In a way, you know, that's how I feel a lot of the time. Whereas I've seen a few interviews with you where you're kind of a bit more raw.
I think without you knowing, just jumping off the back of that, I don't think you probably realise how inspiring you've been because of you being yourself. Do you know what I mean? When, like you say, you see the personality of the man, where the man's come from, and if he can do it, where I've come from, then I can do it. I've got a chance of doing it. And I think sometimes with these robots, as you call them, you can't. It's hard to not so much relate. I was going to say warm, but that's the wrong word. Relate.
I think that's what inspires people. It says you can relate to them. They're the person next door. You know, and I think it's.
I've got like a list of people that I think that inspire me, all from different walks of life, but the connecting factor to all of them is an authenticity.
Well, the biggest one in recent years, I would think the last 10 years worldwide, is probably Conor McGregor, isn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, there's an authenticity amongst him. You know,
well, certainly raw.
From Ireland, and you know, kind of where he came from. He's I mean, maybe not now. It might be, but certainly to begin with that McGregor film. You know, when you watch that, and he's kind of that in there, struggling to pay his bills and things. You know, he kind of transcended the sport. And the people that do transcend the sport, I think, you know, there is an authenticity with them and a realness, you know.
Yeah. And going back to the nemesis, was there a nemesis in your sport?
Myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was my biggest competitor.
Yeah.
You know,
I can imagine
if I could compete, if I could, you know, conquer myself, I could. It was always that. If I just treated from A to B as fast as possible, never mind who's on the other side.
Yeah.
Just, you know, it wasn't never to do with times and things like that. If someone could do 4:15, I could do 4:12. It was just go as fast as possible, break the world record.
And were you compared to anyone? Was there like, oh, you know?
Yeah, I mean, different people at times, I guess.
Yeah. But it wasn't a factor for you.
Oh, you don't really hear that much, do you? Really, you never hear what the talk is about you. A lot of the time, I never really focused on that. Only the negatives, funny enough. I would never hear the positives and praise. I'm not someone who could take praise very well.
And that comes from the insecurity that you talk about.
I don't know what it is. Yeah, I always describe it as insecurity, but I might do it. I might be betraying myself a little bit there. I don't know what. I don't think it was so much an insecurity. I think it was just a lack of confidence, really, more than anything. A lack of confidence, not so much in my ability, but in my ability to get it right. I always knew I had the ability, but I could never really find the tools to
self-belief,
to get it.
Sort of.
Yeah, I was just sort of disorganised, you know. When I was on it, everything would go right. But a lot of the time, it's about having the right people around you.
I mean, on that note, you're talking about it's getting it all together in a way. I train you, I coach you in boxing, and it has surprised me. I've got to admit that you were able to be so obsessively disciplined. Yeah. To be one of the most successful athletes in British history, knowing you, because you're not that disciplined. No. You know, you're sort of quite scatty, to be honest.
Yeah, I can be, yeah.
No, but it's true. Like, you know, he's, you know...
It's because it's not the priority of my life at the moment.
Yeah.
So it tends to take a back
seat. That obsession takes over, and then you're one way traffic.
And I'm scared to go on that, because then everything else in my life will take a back seat.
Sacrifice everything else for that one thing.
It's hard to do, so...
Honestly, when you're talking there's so much I can relate to. Like, I've wanted to learn Spanish. I've wanted to do my PPL, my private pilot license. I've wanted to learn the guitar. But I haven't done those things. One, because it will take over my life. And two, I understand now through my years of boxing the process it takes from going to there to there. And if I do something, I want to be the best. I want to be the best at it, and it put me off. This is not a cop-out. You can't do what I've done, blowing my own smoke, blowing smoke on my backside, but you can't be lazy doing what I've done. So it's not a case of being lazy. I'm fearful of the journey. I'm fearful of the journey to take on these new disciplines. I'm hearing you speak there, exactly the same.
It's almost like burning yourself out. You know, when you've obsessed over something for decades, you burned yourself out.
Do I need it in my life?
Yeah.
Do I need to do that again?
Yeah.
Do I need to obsess about something again?
Is there anything you're obsessed about now? Anything?
I don't know really. It's a tough one, that.
But it ain't cycling because you don't even own a bike.
No. I don't think anything will replace that cycling. What I did really, not out of love. I wouldn't say that nothing's ever going to replace it out of love. It's just I was consumed by it.
Yeah.
Because the pressure was so high and the stakes were so high, you know, and it ramped up and got more and more. And after 2012, it was just, there was no, you know, it was just, everything I had to do was winning. And it was just, I'd packed up by Rio Olympic Games. I thought this is enough. And I wanted to go out on top. And, so it became an unhealthy obsession as well. But it was an obsession not out of enjoyment, an obsession out of fear.
Is there such thing as a healthy obsession?
No, I don't think there is.
No, I don't.
No.
I don't. I think that I think
the
definition of obsession is an unhealthy thing.
Too much of anything's bad for you.
Yeah.
You know, it's just fun and moderation, but you can't.
But you can't be the greatest at something without being obsessed with it. Like that, it's such a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
You mentioned being a winner there. Like, obviously, I understand for you what it took, and from what you've said, to be a winner in your sport and what you perceived a winner is in your sport. But do you have a perception of what a winner is as a person? Like, what is a winner? Not just in cycling, but no.
Yeah, do you know what? That's changed over the years. That I mean, you know, people sort of say, "Oh, this person's a winner," and that. I think some people that are driven to win, 9 times out of 10 will not always win. I don't know. It's just it's not a given formula, is it? I think there's a process to go through, and I think if you're meticulous in that process without mentioning the winning, of course that's why you do it. You're doing it to win. It should be a given. You shouldn't have to validate that you're trying to win by going through this process, but it's just going through those processes, almost not thinking about the win. For me, it was never thinking about the win. It was about the perfect execution of A to B as fast as possible. And if you do it right and you train right, of course that will give you the win. But we don't need to talk about win at this stage, because win came with emotion. What's it going to feel like when you win? You start thinking emotionally then, and it kind of changes what you do, and it's meticulous and calculated. And I think a winner is someone who plans intensely, plans deeply, because and is meticulous, and they train because they have to get up and do it, not because they're motivated to. I think motivation is maybe 1% of the formula. I think you get up because you have to do it, and that's the difference between gets you out and trains. I'd never train, and most of the time when I was cycling because I was motivated to. But, you know, people say, "Oh, no, we're not really motivated to train today." I think you get up because you have to get up and do it. And if you don't get up and do it, someone else is going to be out training that day when you're not.
Have you won? In your opinion, have you won? Do you feel like a winner?
You
know, maybe content's hard, but when the wrong
yeah,
word.
No, I do. I mean, I won 5 Olympic gold medals, so
you class yourself as a winner?
Fucking right, I do.
Yeah, good. Good, right.
I don't. No, I mean, winning became the norm, and winning became the standard. Yeah. There was no second place.
Yeah, it's an interesting question though, because.
Yeah. But that winning became it was about executing the perfect ride, which would give you the win historically, you know, because of your ability.
Yeah, there was an acknowledgement for me. I never turned professional as a boxer, and somewhere in me I knew that
you could have been Amir Khan.
You could have been, maybe. But if I'd have gone forward and won a world title, let's say, if I'd have obsessed for the next decade, like Darren did, and went and fought for a world title or managed to get there, you know, sacrificed everything on the way. Even if I held that title up, I just felt like I was doing it for an unhealthy reason, and it wasn't going to make me happy. So the question, did you win? Like, if I'd have gone ahead and did that, I don't believe it would have scratched the itch for me. But it did for you. It scratched the itch, like you.
Yeah, but it's funny you asked that. I don't think I've won at life. Not yet, anyway.
Maybe it was a bigger the question was a bigger question.
Yeah.
Like, what are you searching
But
for
I'm
then?
now, well, I don't know. Stability, I think, is the main thing for me. But I'm trying to find the lessons that I learned from sport now, more so getting out. So the thing being, I isolate myself a lot, and I don't try a lot of new things, really. This is the first year I've kind of come out my shell a bit and tried new things. And it's been quite a good year already, even though it's been one of the hardest years for me. But trying to sort of learn by talking about it and going through a process of what was it that kind of made me successful in sport, and I've spent 6 years in retirement, and I've not really, I just stopped and forgot about sport really, and I didn't take the lessons learnt in that and try and adapt them into life in terms of going into business and things like that.
Yeah.
And it's took me a long time to kind of realise that is part of your makeup and that's what you are. So try and take, I left sport behind altogether and thought that it's got nothing to do with my life. But I've realised over years now that there's actually things that that are applicable that you can take out of there for your life. Going through a process, the ability to kind of make a plan and stick at that plan and apply yourself to a program over a given amount of time, and then come away successful, failure, and learn what did I do right, what did I do wrong, and see how we can change it. Even if it went right, we never used to train the same way we did the year before. It's always pushing the boundaries a bit more. Never just do what worked last year. And so I've only just learnt now, there's actually a lot in that sporting career you can take out that you can apply in normal life. It's just taken me a few years to realise that there are similarities between the two. And it's probably made the most progress this year in my life than I have over 5 years of sitting around on the arse.
Have you struggled with retirement? I say that because we mentioned there, Joe Calzaghe, and we had a conversation. We were talking about, we were Darren Barker, Joe Calzaghe, the boxer, and then when it ends, it's like, blimey, who am I?
Yeah, but I never struggled in retirement. I struggled in retirement in other ways, but I never struggled. I'm still Bradley Wiggins, a cyclist. I get stopped every day in the street at least once. People go, "Oh, you're that cyclist, aren't you?"
Yeah.
So that's never left me, unfortunately, that identity. People still see
That's
me.
because you walk around with your cycling cap on,
Telling people to call me sir.
Oh, I have that T-shirt on most of the time. It says, "I am Sir Bradley Wiggins." Come and shake my hand. I'm here to help.
And so you said you're not. You said you're not winning in life yet. What is a loser? What's a loser to you? What you said you feared losing. First of all, what is a loser in cycling? And what is a loser?
Yeah.
It's a deep one. Yeah,
Well, look, I'll throw something to you. His name's been mentioned a couple of times. Do you class Lance Armstrong as a loser?
No, not at all. No, he's a good friend of mine. He's winning at life. He's brought himself back. It's he took drugs. Look, it's a bit disproportionate to what some people get up to the world. He doesn't deserve to be dead. He doesn't deserve to be destroyed. He's a dad of 6. He's a great father, good husband, and he's a successful businessman. And he's come back and he wins at everything he does, really.
So away from a specific person, like what do you see a loser as? Like,
That's a tough one. I don't know.
Coming last or coming second?
That's a good question. Yeah, no, I don't know what is coming. Yeah,
or is it even achievement based? Is it like?
Yeah, I think it's. I think it's a definition for me over a period of time, like a 5-year window that you look at it and go, well, that's actually been quite good. I've done well there, and I think one of the biggest things that defines with it is your children. When you look at your kids, my son that aged over 18 years, you think, I've done all right there, done something well.
Yeah.
I heard something once, like
if your kids turn out arseholes, then it's kind of like
if you're this
that's
fucked
a failure.
up,
yeah.
If you're this fucked up and your kids end up this fucked up, you've done a good job.
Yeah, but that's true.
In some way, like you're gonna, life affects people.
It does.
I think for me, like losing in life, like I said, I've changed the kind of direction away from boxing and didn't turn pro. For me, losing in life now is somebody who's lost, somebody who doesn't know themselves, isn't looking in the mirror. It's totally lost. They're behaving in a way that they don't even understand or realise, and they're on a track that they can't control.
They're
lost.
There's some, like, in some ways, I have a little bit of jealousy for those people because it's almost the red and the blue pill. There's a naivety, isn't there, to not knowing.
That's ignorance is bliss, though.
Yeah,
right?
kind of.
That's ignorance. I'm not talking about that.
Yeah.
I'm talking about someone who's suffering. They're lost. They're suffering, and they can't. They're They're not even trying. They haven't got the courage to look in the mirror, go to therapy, or whatever it is that might get you back on track.
It's never too late, is it?
Or beating up their kids and they don't even know they're doing it. It just automatic pilot is just totally lost.
Yeah.
I think that's losing.
Yeah.
That's a loser.
Yeah.
There's, for us sat here now, when it comes to losing, there's life and there's sport.
Yeah.
For me, it was quite simple. Losing was not two things really: not getting my arm raised at the end of a fight, and even if I won, not performing to being the perfectionist I am, not performing to the best of my ability. That was quite simple. I think in my life, I'm still striving. Me personally, I know you're a guest there. I'm going off on one here, but I think having my kids and seeing them. You just mentioned it there, just following up on that, seeing how well they, I'm watching my daughters in the Dance World Cup, and I'm watching her on the live stream, and I'm welling up with pride. I'm thinking, I've cracked it here. This is winning.
Yeah. I was at my son's birthday the other day, and he was dancing around on the floor, and that I had the same. He's only 5, do you know what I mean? But I had the same sort of feeling then. It's like amazing. How does it feel watching your boy cycle and
he's great,
climbing the achievement ladder?
Yeah, it's great. They could be doing worse things at 18.
You've got 3 kids, right?
Yeah, my daughter's 16. She just finished her GCSEs, left school now. She's going to move to London, move into fashion, and so they're doing well, doing great.
Little Ava.
And Ava, she's great.
Starting it all, starting the journey.
Yeah. So no, it's great. And it's. Yeah, I think that's a lot of my motivation now, is to be the best version of myself for them, really, more than anything, and strive for them. I realise I spent so long after cycling sort of wondering what we're going to do next and that, and you forget that these kids are in front of you, and it's like they're your responsibility, and that's your meaning in life, really, and it's to do the best for them, really. So, I think sport as well, it does make you quite self-absorbed. Naturally,
well, you have
it takes you a while to get out of that and realise the world doesn't centre around you.
Yeah,
because when you're a professional, everyone says it centres around you and does everything for you.
Yeah.
And it's hard. Yeah.
You have a team. You have a team, and you're at the centre of the team.
Yeah, that's it. And the responsibility lies with you. You're the ones who got to get in the ring or whatever, get on the bike. It's So it's hard. And I don't think there's enough appreciation for it, or enough help out there when you do come out of sport, is that, no one takes you into the world and says, right, this is what you're going to do. People I haven't spoke to since the day I climbed off my bike the last time, mechanics 1 year, physios, it was just like, see you later, I'm off. And, you do, one of the, I don't know what it's like in boxing, but, I still keep in touch with a lot of people, but for the most, you do think you're this big family and this band of brothers and that, but the minute you stop, people don't talk to you anymore. And you sort of think, I thought we were going to be mates forever, and it's like, no, they don't ring you anymore. It's funny how it just switches.
Do you have people that were involved in your career that you really pay homage to, like
there's a lot of them,
Oh, we had Tony Burns and people like that, and you had Tony Sims, coaches that, but there's
there was a couple of they almost become father figures for you, certainly for me, and they kind of mentor you. But like again, I tried to have this father figure son relationship with this guy Shane Sutton, who was my Australian. He was an Australian now, quite a hard man, but he sort of like mentored me on the bike, off the bike. The minute I retired, I haven't spoken to him since.
Really?
And it was kind of it's funny how things move on. Their lives move on, and it's
a bit of a conveyor belt, I guess.
It is very much.
They have the next one, the next guy.
Yeah, and I suppose they're still in the obsession.
Yeah, but that's it. You realise you realise how sort of fragile it is, really. I guess more than anything, it's not the real world. You think it's real in reality, and that's what I mean. It's
when you reflect back on what you've achieved. I mean, it's incredible, like absolutely unbelievable. Are you proud of yourself?
Yes, I am. Yeah. Yeah, it took me a long time to get to that point. Yeah.
What are you most proud of?
I think the longevity, 20 years, 5 Olympic Games, 5 golds, Tour de France, everything, it's just... And, I went through all the kind of, for a kid from Kilburn to come to get a knighthood, I didn't want to accept that. And
why?
Just because it was... kids from Kilburn didn't become knighthoods, It was all like rowers and eating and... But my nan told me, she said, kids take what you get, And I went back to my old school really, and there were a lot of, head teacher got stabbed when I was a kid there and killed, Philip Lawrence, and it was. It was. They've had a tough time there, gang culture and knife crime and things. And I went back there 10 years ago in 2013 after I got my noted, and the head teacher at the time said, this is all these kids think they can do something with their lives now and aspire to be something. And it's a great thing from that point of view. Really, is that there was a few kids that came out of that school that done well, but most of them were going to football play at QPR or things like that. But no one from where we came from got knighthoods really, so it was
Was that one of your proudest moments?
I think so, yeah. Although a difficult one at the same time because you don't get anything for it. You still get ripped to shreds in the Daily Mail. So there was times I thought, fuck it, what's it matter? Give it back. But I had them all. I went because I used to get one after every Olympic gold, didn't you?
Yeah.
So I had an MBE, I had a night. I got an OB, and I got a CBE.
Yeah.
So I got them all. They're all hanging at home somewhere in the cupboard.
Okay, that's quality. I mean, I guess that ties into the next question.
You got an MBE, didn't you?
No.
Soon.
Well, you two can write a letter in if you want on my behalf. I can be buzzing off of all of that.
You can have one of mine.
Eh?
You can have one of mine.
I'll have the knighthood then if you don't want it. You can have it. And you have to call me sir.
But for me, like if I was to get knighted, like having that sword over your shoulder, it's just something really like historical. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like thinking of being part of those people that have been knights.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's serious.
People like that.
That's proper legacy though. That I think as I get older now, one of the questions is legacy, and I wish I'd always, even now, I think I'd like to create more to leave because that's what you leave behind. Your legacy. I think as I'm getting older now with maturity, I think though I achieved.
What's your legacy? So I think of your legacy is like Eddie Hearn's first sort of
signing.
Yeah,
but it
kind of look where that is now.
Like I just want to. I wish I'd left more. I wish I was leaving more behind. That makes me. But
this is part of your legacy. This boxing gym and what it's done.
I guess so.
I see the people that come through that door every day, and it's life changing for a lot of people. It really is.
Yeah, you must be so proud of your legacy and what you've left behind.
Well, I mean, I've only just kind of started getting my head around. Someone said something to me last year that I kind of thought, fucking hell, maybe that is true, and I've got to accept that at some point. The reason most people ride a bike in this country is because of me. Leisurely or whatever, and I thought that's a lovely thing to have. It's not it's not just because of me, but the Wiggo effect, which is now an actual thing, was after cycling. The bike industry sold out of bikes because everyone wanted to go and buy.
And your kids for as long as the Wiggins generation lasts, your name is always going to be mentioned. It's never as long as this earth is spinning, your name is going to be mentioned. I mean, I can see you smiling a little bit there. That's got to be a buzz.
No, it's lovely.
Because I reckon I've got 3 generations and then I'm fucking forgotten. Do you know what I mean? I think YouTube would be something else then. There'd be no fights and that would be my lot. You're there forever. Them little medals that you got,
Well, I've got a blue plaque.
I've got a blue
plaque, I've got a blue plaque, the blue plaques.
I've
got one at Paddington Rec.
Oh, amazing.
And it's next to Roger Bannister's.
I thought you only got them when you die.
Not me.
Oh, is that?
No, I got one up. My nan unveiled it in Paddington Recreation Ground.
Oh, right. I thought it was like 5 years or something.
No, they made an exception for me.
What? So where you used to live or where you used to train?
Where I started cycling. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're a proper boat, aren't you?
Yeah. So what is your legacy like? How do you want to be remembered? If you could choose, like what?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it's not.
What do you want said about you?
Blue plaque, Wiggo.
No, I don't know, inspired a generation of people maybe to get on their bikes. Middle-aged men that had lost their way in the world. I think that's kind of the most demographic. That's the most kind of feedback I get.
Grow their sideburns and get on a bike.
Yeah. And I guess it's that thing we were talking about earlier. It's that relatability. I guess at that time I made people think that someone next door that I could do that.
Yeah.
And I think the likes of Chris Froome and Chris Hoy, they're kind of seen as like kind of invincible, like Nadal's and Federer's. There's an eliteness with them that people just kind of look at them and go, "Fuck no, I can't do that." That's amazing what they do. But sometimes you get people like Freddie Flintoff, Paul Gascoigne, the likes. there's a relatability about
Yeah.
it. I think I could do that if he could do it. Some bloke from Preston could throw a cricket ball like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's what inspires people. We like in this country, don't we? We like a
relatable character.
We like a flawed character, don't we?
Yeah.
We do a bit, don't we?
And we, it's
A rebel without a cause a bit,
in
someone
boxing.
who-
You had like Frank Bruno. He used to get
Yeah.
beat a lot, didn't he, before he won his world title? And people like we like,
The
An
underdog story.
underdog,
Yeah,
yeah.
the comeback story.
you know. And the likes of sort of Lewis Hamiltons and people like that, they're less relatable, aren't they? We always liked Jensen Button because he was a bit of a wide boy, and
So-
there's
So you
people-
see yourself as a bit of an underdog story. in a
not an
way.
underdog story. I think there's just he's the person next door, the bloke next door, and I think you are. Well, I am really,
I only tuned into cycling because of you.
Yeah, well,
that's a fact. That is a fact.
Yeah.
I'm not just saying it because you're here. We were screaming at the TV, and I wouldn't have done that otherwise. There was nobody really that I was talking about or we related to. I said, "There, my dad, big fan of yours,
Yeah,
big proud
yeah,
Londoner, my dad,"
yeah.
and that was another reason. He's one of
Yeah.
us.
So what was it all about, Brad? Like, the reason we're
It's
here
the
is
big
why-
question.
What was it all about?
Why fight? Why fight? Why bother? If you're going to speak to some young kid who's like relating to you,
Well,
why bother?
I think everyone's reason is different, but for me, I don't think I knew why was. But I've obviously had an impact and made a difference, and I think it was meant to be. Like there was a reason I had to do it, and it was a journey that I was never going to be able to back out of. Too many things happened, and too many things happened over a long period of time for it not to have been fate. There was a reason I had to do that, really, and for me, I might think it was to better my dad or whatever. But there was a societal change within London, within cycling in council estates and things like that. That cycling now was perceived cool, and it became a minority sport, a national sport in the UK, where it became household names. So that things like that don't. It's like there's an element of it meant to be. There was a meant to be that there was Olympic Games in London when I was 32 years of age in the prime of my career. That I won the Tour de France 10 days before it. And we were backed by a company like Team Sky that year, and it's kind of like there was too many things that happened to be more than a coincidence.
So in a way, what you're saying is like
We had the start of the Tour de
it's
France in London as well in 2007. I got to do the start of the Tour de France. The Tour de France never starts in London.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
these
so
things
it's
come
showing
along in
you
the
how
prime
much-
of
yeah,
your
yeah.
career.
So you're saying in a way that
Stars align.
you believe
Yeah.
you
I
believe
do.
it was written in a
Yeah,
way,
yeah.
and to kind of believe the process,
Yeah,
like just let yourself
that's it.
flow in the way that
Yeah,
the current's taking you,
yeah.
which isn't a fight, really.
No.
But yeah, I don't know. You seem to have worked really hard to get there. So
And do you know what? I don't know why I get this impression, though you have sailed off into the sunset a little bit. I don't think this is going to be the last we hear from you. I think you're destined for something else. I think there's something there. I don't know what, but I feel like there's going to be a big Sir Bradley Wiggins explosion again in something.
and look, you've told me that you're starting your own podcast and stuff, and I think that you're definitely going to find joy in inspiring others in a different way. I think that feels like that's your kind of purpose.
Yeah, but I guess so.
Inspiring.
But I just think it's just a continuation of being myself, and I don't think you think about that. You are you, and I like being me. I don't like being anything else other than me, and that's why I suppose I've struggled at times. And like we talk about in interviews and things. I always struggled to be a key messenger, and I like just being myself really. And that drew out the contentious side at times, and maybe swore and got myself in bother when I didn't need to. And but yeah.
And the white collar, we look forward to the white collar.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, Brad's training for a fight. I'm putting under pressure.
Find someone
on
smaller, Tom Daly, something like that.
He wants a flyweight opponent.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Don't make this sport any harder than it has to be. I mean,
No.
Sir Bradley Wiggins, an
Thank you, guys. No, it's
absolute
been a
honour,
pleasure.
mate. Thank you,
You've
mate.
really changed my life, you two, with this year, with this gym. So thank you very much.
I really appreciate it. It's been a pleasure meeting you,
Yeah.
and
No,
sort of like it's an honour to take you on a journey, and for you to be coming out of your sport and helping you find a little bit of direction. It's been great.
I'll never forget the first day I clipped Ryan with a jab when we were sparring.
This never happened.
And he did, because you went, that's a good shot, that. Do you remember? I did.
I must have been lying. I must have been lying. I don't say good
My
shot.
reach.
Nice one.
Thank you.
Thank you.